Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. That's Maddie. It's Yankee and the Brit. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl. And I already just briefly got some little tidbit into what Maddie's wild take. So we'll wait for that, too.
Yeah, hey guys, and it is our final show to shut the books on this season before we start to look ahead to next season with the draft and all the mock stuff. So make sure to subscribe to us and to hit the bell to get information on our next shows where we talk about all of our draft takes, all of the coaching hires, all of the crazy off-season stuff that is bound to come because the NFL never switches off. But in this show, Jay, we're going to be talking about our Super Bowl reactions. How was that Super Bowl? What do we make of it? The big questions that are asked during and after the Super Bowl as well. We're then going to do a news roundup to finish out this season before moving on to next season. But we'll be talking about Fernando Mendoza. We'll be talking about Tyreek Hill, Max Crosby, Bradley Chubb. We'll be talking about the best coaching hire and which trades we want to see in the NFL off season. But Jay, let's talk about that Super Bowl. So I've seen online, and I get it. I get it that it wasn't a good Super Bowl, that people didn't enjoy the Super Bowl. But to be honest, it's one of the more entertaining Super Bowls that we've seen for a while. Like last year's was done by halftime. Last year's was done by halftime. The year before that was decent but then the year before that was terrible as well. They have like Super Bowls that are like done by halftime, completely non-competitive. Whereas in this game, it was two good defenses going at each other for most of the game.
I literally watched fucking TV shows on a separate screen. Well, that game was in the background. And if I didn't do this, wouldn't have watched the fourth quarter of that awful game. That it was like watching fucking paint dry. That was the worst Super Bowl probably in my lifetime that I've watched.
Really?
Both quarterbacks sucked ass. Like the whole thing was just trash.
Yeah, I think where I'm coming from on it is
Bad Bunny was the best part of the Super Bowl. And I don't speak Spanish.
Bad Bunny was good. I think it was too defense. Like what I liked about it, it was lots of good defensive plays getting done over and over again. Like it was good defense in this game. I don't think it was like the most entertaining game of football of all time, but it was. For a good part, it was largely competitive. There was a little spot where Drake Maye looked like he was getting it together and coming back towards the end of the third quarter, and then he throws that interception, and then it really is over from there. But, Jay, I do think it is clouded by the fact that I did watch it in a pub in the UK. Like, that was a really great atmosphere as well. So I was having like
14 pints in.
14, yeah, a couple of pints of beer down. Definitely, it was great. That some of the best wings I've ever had were served at that Super Bowl pie. It was really strange. And I mean, the UK is not famous for doing amazing wings, so I bet there's better wings all over the place. But it was good. I thought the Super Bowl was decent, Jay, but I thought it was an interesting game of football, even if it wasn't the most entertaining. Jay, so where do you think that Super Bowl was won by the Seattle Seahawks? Where did the Seattle Seahawks win Super Bowl 60?
Their defense, and their run game. But we talked about that. That's like I was saying in the pregame, Walker was a game changer. And he was going to set the tone if Seattle was going to win. And that's exactly what he did. First Super Bowl MVP since early 2000s, I believe. A running back, Super Bowl MVP. But their defense rivals the Legion of Boom, the Legion of Boom. The only reason they don't get talked about like that is because they don't have the same personalities. They don't have Cam Chancellor, Earl Thomas, Sherman, like Michael Bennett. Like they had real personalities that were really loud on that defense. But I think you can equate them. And then what's great for Seattle, though, is unlike the Legion of Boom, the dark side, I think that's what they're calling themselves, right? The dark side,
yeah.
They love Sam Darnold. The Legion of Boom hated Russell Wilson. So it's actually a better spot for Seattle to be in than they were in their last Super Bowl win.
Yeah, and I think with the Seahawks defense as well, I think they're all actually quite understated players that actually plays well for them. It means that they're going a little under the radar in terms of how great they were defensively all season. Like, they're not these big, boisterous players, and I think it does aid them quite a lot. I think that people weren't necessarily ready for how good their defense was going into the postseason. And then the Patriots were probably ready for it. They just weren't ready for Will Campbell getting smoked on every single play he was in.
I don't understand how people didn't think their defense was good. That was never a question. The question was always, can their offense do it, right? That was always the question. So when Kenneth Walker decided to come in and go, I just give me the ball, I got this. Like, that changed the game. Like, what were the Patriots going to do? If you can't stop that run, what the fuck are you going to do on a team? And they didn't even get there. But on a team, you're lucky to score 20 points on. You're fucking lucky as a team if you score 20 points. And you're going to let them turn around and run the ball on you? There's no way you can win if you can't stop the run of a team with that good of a defense.
Yeah, I think the defense was great, and it's what got them here. It was an amazing defense with understated players, and McDonald, the head coach, doing great stuff with that defense all season. Like, the schemes were really interesting. They were able to mold schemes all the time, players moving around on the line, and in the secondary, everybody moving everywhere. But the big difference, Jay, was the Super Bowl MVP, because the Patriots actually played really decent defense. And we said before the show, good luck running on that Patriots run defense. Nobody's been able to run on the Patriots run defense. And all of a sudden, Kenneth Walker comes in and starts getting ahead of steam, and he doesn't stop. He doesn't slow down, and they can't stop him. And that was the difference. Both sides were playing good defense, and this was Kenneth Walker bit between his teeth, because it wasn't like holes were getting blown open for him either. He was carrying that ball past the gain line every single time. It wasn't like he was just out in the open running free. There were a few great play calls from Clint Kubiak that should, make Ashton Genty very excited for what's to come. And he also started to run to the outside a bit more. I think that was the weakness of the Patriots' run defense. We were kind of saying that in the pre-show as well. Run to the outside of this Patriots defense. You can't go up the middle. But Kenneth Walker was the guy making that happen. He was passing the gain line every time, and it felt like he was making 5 yards a carry, like, continuously throughout the game.
No, I agree. I think that the big takeaway from the game is how much Kenneth Walker ran the ball, and, well, how much the Patriots offensive line let them down too. But
I think that's the other side of it, right? Like, Kenneth Walker went for 27 carries, 135 yards. That's 5 yards a carry, and a long of 30 in the Super Bowl. That is Super Bowl MVP worthy stats, especially against this Patriots defense. But on the other side of that, Drake Maye felt like he was under pressure the entire time. And we said in the show, how would Will Campbell do?
Well, that's the problem right there is
time. Yeah.
T-Rex Will Campbell. That's his new name. T-Rex Will Campbell with his little arms.
Yeah, and it was how well is he going to do? And Drake Maye ends up getting sacked 6 times during the game. And you can see in a lot of throws that he was making that he was seeing players before they got there. Like, we've said that about quarterbacks after they get sacked a lot of times. He's making plays that he doesn't need to make because he's worried about his quarterback clock is all screwed up. But Jay, Drake Maye has put together one of the worst stat sheets in terms of yardage that we've seen in a Super Bowl run in the playoffs. Was that Drake Maye crumbling under pressure? We've said it loads of times throughout the year that you've got to look at the defenses he played against all the way through this playoffs. But after that playoff in the Super Bowl as well, is there an element that maybe his play did fall off because he played good games against these standards of defense in the regular season?
No, and then the stats are so skewed because if you look at the Texans, they had a short field. They dominated him. He put up 3 touchdowns, but he had, 150 150, 170 yards, some shit like that. Like, that's such skewed stats. And then actually, I know you can't minus shit, right? But minus the 2 interceptions, he went fucking 295 for 2 touchdowns in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and also, like, the yards are skewed because the Denver game, no one could throw anything in the second half.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. Yeah, they were in a fucking blizzard. Like
98 yards in that one as well. So I've seen a lot of people slagging off Drake Maye for this. And look, I do think there's an element that you have to come out and you make big plays in the big situations, which he did until this Super Bowl where he didn't make the big plays. But what
and is it
really
he didn't make the big plays or nobody else on the team helped him? Because what is he supposed to do if nobody's open to throw the ball to is the other side of it, right? So where are your receivers in all of this and your tight ends? You have this great tight end group, but yet you still can't find a way to move the ball. So I think it falls on the whole offense, but I honestly think it comes back to where we started, Will Campbell and that offensive line. I think the fact that they even made it to the Super Bowl with a fourth round guy starting from 2025 at left tackle, that's good.
Yeah, Will Campbell was their first pick. Is that what you were saying? Sorry. Will Campbell.
That's what I meant, 4th overall, but he's in 2025. But then we see through. Sorry, my wife was talking to me at the same time I was doing this, but we seen that he's not that guy through the season, and you still made it to the Super Bowl with him. I also think they did a shit job, which is weird to say, at giving help to that offensive line with tight ends and running backs when you see that they're getting destroyed. And even when they were getting pushed up the middle, it's because they were trying to make up for the deficiency at the tackle position with help from the guards, not the tight ends, not the running backs. I don't get that.
Yeah, do you think there's an element that there was like a total mismatch in coaching in this game? Like we said before the game, who has the coaching edge? You know, like Josh McDaniel versus Mike McDonald, or is it or is it Clint Kubiak versus the Patriots defensive coordinator? I can't remember.
This isn't a shot at McDonald, but I think you or I could have coached that defense to a win.
But they've been doing that all year. Like,
right, but I'm not saying. I'm saying I think you and I could coach that defense to a win. He set up the scheme. He created what he is. It's not a shot at McDonald. I'm just saying they're so good. I think you or I could have coached that team to a win.
Yeah, now. But right. Like he put it all.
That's why I said no shot at. I started with no shot at McDonald. He built it.
Yeah, I think that it looked like to me when I was watching the game, the Seahawks were better prepared. They knew exactly what they were going to do to completely destroy the Patriots' chances of getting any offense going. And they targeted Will Campbell over and over and over again. And it's not that Vrabel won't have had them prepared. It's not that Josh McDaniel won't have had them prepared. But we said before the show, these guys have been here before. These guys have been here before. Vrabel and McDaniel had been there before, and it just didn't look like they came out with the correct game plan to go against this Seattle defense at all. Like Trevondre Henderson barely saw the ball in the entire game.
The Patriots held them to fucking 12 points for the first 3 quarters, but they weren't prepared. I'm so confused on that.
On the offensive side of the ball, Trayvon Henderson had 6 carries for 19 yards.
Again, it's because they couldn't do shit. It's the Jimmies and the Joes, not the X's and the O's. Like, what are you going to do when nobody can get open, when your running game shut down, when the offensive line is just crumbling? I don't know. I don't think that's coaching. I just think you didn't have enough talent to beat the team across from you. Yeah,
and the Seahawks look like a very talented team kind of across the board here. And on that, Jay, is this the start of a dynasty for the Seattle Seahawks? They're a young team, coach, everything together.
You just try to slip through, oh, they look great across the board, which they didn't. Their offense did not look good. And they didn't really put up anything until the game was already over in the fourth quarter. And then Sam Darnold gets that touchdown, so he looks like he did something, and he gets an extra 70 yards so that his stats don't look as bad as they really were. But
I'm just asking questions. These are non-biased
no.
questions.
When you say they look good across the board, that was a statement. That was a statement. And
they played the offense that they needed to play to win, to be fair. But
honestly,
Sam Darnold didn't look great. I agree.
I honestly think today or yesterday, they shot themselves in the foot for a dynasty by not promoting within on that offense coordinator.
Yeah, not taking on the Clint Kubiak.
I am gonna go get a guy who was a run game fucking coordinator to run this offense that's just been getting better through the whole year. We make great midseason moves. And let's not just keep the same fucking offense. Let's just go and change shit. That seems wild to me. Maybe I'll be wrong, but that seems wild to me. I don't know. I thought they'd be a dynasty anyway. I think the Patriots were an anomaly, and we're kind of in an era where you're not going to see those dynasties anymore like you did in the past. But, hey, you win 2 of them back-to-back, and people start talking about, like, is this it? So if they can come in and win next year, they can shut me up, and everybody else who's like that. And that's not me saying that Sam Darnold was ass or whatever. I keep seeing this all over the internet. Like, he played good. Yes, his defense helped him win a Super Bowl. Who the fuck's defense doesn't help them win a Super Bowl?
Yeah. Also, important to mention here, Jay, Christian Gonzalez made about 3 or 4 plays that stopped huge plays from Sam Darnold. Like, if
they weren't good enough?
Gonzalez was crazy. Like, in that, yeah, they weren't quite good enough, but Gonzalez was making plays that CBs don't make.
Well,
like, he does amazing. He is unbelievable.
That's why he's the best corner in the league, though. Yeah. That's what he does. Like, when you see him block that first pass in the Super Bowl, are you even shocked, though? No. There was one that he batted down. The whole team is going nuts because he batted it down, and he's pissed he didn't pick it. That's the dude I want on my team.
Yeah, and it's everybody saying this stuff about, like, the Seahawks offense wasn't good, but actually it was quite good because they realized that they were just getting completely locked up. But they just said Jackson Smith and Jigba isn't going to beat us, so we're going to lock him up. And Christian Gonzalez played insane. And then they found their run game. They managed to find their run game, and they scored 29 points. Like, 29 points on this New England Patriots defense is pretty good, you know? Like, I thought they were okay. Their dynasty stuff, I think, I agree with you. I think the NFL, and especially the NFC, is kind of so wide open that we don't know if they're going to have a dynasty. Now, the Seahawks are kind of really well set. Their defense and the thing that carried them to this Super Bowl is so young and has so many talented players at such a young age that you would think, okay, yeah, maybe like they'll have this defense for a couple of years at least to put together. McDonald looks like one of the best young coaches in the NFL, especially on the defensive side of the ball. So you'll have that there as well. Sam Darnold has now had 2 seasons where he's played really solid football. So you have your quarterback, you have your wide receiver combination. So they're going to be a good team for a long time. Do we hit dynasty? Are the Rams not still...
Yeah, the 49ers and the Rams.
Better. The 49ers, if they're not injured all the time, is their roster not still a bit better? Like, the Eagles will come back just as strong. Like, I know that the Cowboys, this are your shit, but, like, the Cowboys come back and, like, look, you know, like, their offense looks good. Their defense is going to just keep on improving throughout. The Packers, and then obviously with the Bears, with Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson 1 year on, like, how much more of a jump are they going to get next season? So I think,
do the Panthers make a jump? What do the Atlanta Falcons look like with Stefanski? No, I get you, because there's always teams that go from worst to first too.
Yeah, and like the New York Giants with Jackson Dart, who had a good season, and then they bring in Harbaugh. They Malik Neighbors has a season to go with. The Minnesota Vikings. Look, we don't know what JJ McCarthy's going to be. Like, we both think he's pretty good, and everybody else thinks he's terrible. So, like, what are the Minnesota Vikings going to be? The Minnesota Vikings got basically the same record as the Green Bay Packers whilst everybody was saying their quarterback was terrible all year. So what are they going to do? So I don't think it's going to be dynasty because the NFC is so stacked that dynasty is going to be difficult. But they are going to be a good team for a long time, I think, the Seattle Seahawks.
I agree, and just some heartwarming shit for my fellow Vikings because we've had a rough one for the last couple of weeks on the internet. According to Jeremy Fowler, every quarterback who's on the move this year wants to go to Minnesota. Makes sense, but I'm just telling you, every quarterback from Malik Willis, Mac Jones wants out of there. Like, it sounds like they are all saying, if you will let – and I give Malik Willis credit, though. He came out and said, not that he wants to go to Minnesota, but, like, if he finds a team he wants to go to, he's willing to go compete for that job. So he's not necessarily going to the team that's just going to hand him the job. He wants the best chance to win. I just shout out and credit to him for being that type of dude anyway. But yeah, I don't know. I think it was I think the playoffs were fucking amazing. I think the Super Bowl let us down, but we're not always going to have perfect endings to seasons or whatever. And I also think it makes that shitty game even worse because we watch so many good playoff games.
Yeah, and Jay, the New England Patriots obviously, like, they lost, and there's a lot of stats that back. If you don't win your first Super Bowl, you very rarely go back. I don't have the stats to hand right now, but for example, Joe Burrow hasn't been back. But there's numerous guys who got to a Super Bowl, didn't win their first one, and then they haven't been back since. How long do you think it's going to be for the New England Patriots to get back to the Super Bowl? Like, was this their chance with Patrick Mahomes out, Josh Allen out, Lamar Jackson out? Like, was this the time? Is the AFC going to go back to those three teams dominating really quickly?
I don't know. And I'm thinking about that stat of teams not going back. Yeah, because if Aaron Rodgers comes back, there is 5 guys in the NFL who have won a Super Bowl as a starting quarterback. Like, you know what I mean? That's a rare air of players, but that's because you had the Bradys winning a bunch. You had the Mahomes always going to the Super Bowl. Like, so that's kind of skewed for me when it's like, hey, they don't go back. And then the NFC's been chasing, like, the top couple teams. They have been very top heavy for years. Now they're getting to be like again, we watched the AFC built behind quarterbacks, the NFC built around teams, and we're finally seeing that starting to pay off on the NFC side. I don't know if I use that stat to lean one way or another. I think it's just hard to go to the Super Bowl more than once anyway. Yeah. It's hard to go to the Super Bowl once, right? But
yeah, Jalen Hurts just won one, like, last year after losing his first one as well.
And then I think the Patriots are set up good to have success. And don't we all think that the Patriots made it there early anyway? Did any of us expect them to do? So they put a really good team together and they figured out how to win these games. They went through 3 of the top 5 defenses in the playoffs. I'm not worried about them being a good team. I just think it's really hard to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I think that, again, they're a young team. They need some help at wide receiver now. Stefan Diggs isn't line. Diggs isn't going to go forever. They need some help at offensive line. Will Campbell actually had a pretty decent season up until that game, which was interesting. But
his short arms, I didn't realize this, but I watched Andrew Whitworth break this down. His short arms caused him problems all season. And Whitworth said it's not going to get any better. I mean, you're talking a guy who's going to be in the Hall of Fame, right? Yeah. So, like, I don't know. And his suggestion was move him into guard. He'd be best suited at guard with his short arms. So
I was just about to say, do you move him into guard? Because that's what happened with, like, all the top offensive linemen in this year's draft. They all seem to be, okay, you're technically drafting a tackle, but they're going to be a guard. And it feels like Will Campbell might be going this way as well. And Vrabel's an offensive line guy. Like, he'll definitely fix that, I think. Drake Maye is super talented, had a chance to win the MVP this year, probably should have got the MVP win this year. So when you have that caliber of quarterback, the worry is how much better are the Chiefs going to be next year? How much better are the Ravens going to be next year? How much better are the Buffalo Bills going to be next year? And To be honest, with the Bills and the Ravens, I don't think it's guaranteed. I think it's guaranteed that the Chiefs are better. It's how much better. But with the other two,
But
I don't think it's
you
necessarily
keep forgetting Mahomes ain't going to be right. He's coming off Achilles, right? So are they going to be better? And then do you have faith that first-year head coach, new head coach in Baltimore,
Jesse Minter,
can turn it around? Do you believe – I actually think next year is as wide open as this year was in the AFC because the only team you're looking at is the Bengals because of Burrow. But we all know how the Bengals can fuck that up. So maybe you got one more year of this wide open before Mahomes comes back, before Minter gets them playing the way, back to Ravens football. Maybe you do got one more year in the AFC to try to see. I didn't think about it until just now, but now that you were talking, I'm like, maybe they do got one more year.
Yeah. As I was asking the question, I was like, do you know what? I'm not necessarily sure the Bills and the Ravens are going to be better next year. And then I forgot about Mahomes' Achilles injury because obviously it's been so long since the regular season. And we've seen how coming off that Achilles and the type of quarterback that Mahomes is and what makes him special is that like in-pocket maneuverability, which won't come back to him immediately either. So teams like the Patriots, the Chargers, the Jags, even like this is again like another great time to reload. The Broncos is a great time to reload and go again. The Texans, if they can get their offensive line sorted out as well. So actually, the AFC could be just as wide open.
Everybody except for the Broncos because there's that skull curse in town. So I just That makes me so warm inside. You don't understand. Like, I am not usually a complete hater, but when it comes to Sean Payton, like, I have this complete hater in me. So it was nice and warm and fuzzy feeling.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people debating on Sam Darnold, and this is what happens at the end of every Super Bowl. Where does Sam Darnold rank in the rest of the quarterbacks? Is Sam Darnold a top 10 quarterback in the NFL?
This year, absolutely. Last year, absolutely. So, but I am now at this thing where unless we're judging greats, you only get top 10 for a year, right? I'm not rolling over. I'm not playing that game. But if you're a great, that's different. If we're talking conversation, greatest quarterbacks ever, that's different. But this year and last year, Sam Darnold top 10. So nothing tells me that it's going to be different next year.
Yeah, and I think with like rankings like that, like with top 10 quarterbacks and stuff like that, they should change. They should change all the time because actually in that range of quarterback, that 10 to 15, we're probably in the golden age of quarterbacks. Like you still get the right shit down the bottom and the guys at the top are not Brady and Peyton Manning and they're not, like Brett Favre and they're not like these top tier guys necessarily, although Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, like they could be. It's just, we're talking about Hall of Famers and compared to guys who are already playing. But from 1 to 15, I don't think there's been a time where 15 teams have had starting quarterbacks that are all this good in the NFL.
Packer fans are all in their feelings this week since Jordan Love was ranked the 14th best quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, and that's what I mean, right? So like Jordan Love, in previous eras, Jordan Love is a top 10 QB, and everybody thinks that their guy is like everybody's going to put their guy in the top 10. So Dak is I'm always going to fight for Dak to be in the top 10 of the quarterback rankings. Even some years he will have played like the 12th best guy. This year he was probably definitely in the top 10 for his play this year. But with Sam Darnold, I think he has made that jump, and he's shown it year on year for the past 2 years now. Also, interesting thing. Do you think everybody takes the piss out of the Minnesota Vikings for obviously letting Sam Darnold go? Do the 49ers not need to get that same treatment? Like the 49ers let him go to Minnesota and paid Brock Purdy $50 million.
Well, and then the assumption that I always love this football math people do. Well, if Sam Darnold won a Super Bowl, so if Minnesota kept him, they win a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And then if JJ becomes anything and they win a Super Bowl with JJ, now do those people come back and go, oh, they were right to move on from Sam Darnold? Like, you know what I mean? It's football math. But I get it. I get it. I get it for fans to do it. It makes 100%. people on TV need to start getting fired for making ridiculous takes. They just need to be like clipped, and not one or two. But when your whole career is built on taking the most outrageous argument and making it your own, hence Skip Bayless, Stephen A. Smith, like, you guys are so ridiculous. You guys just need to stop. And it might come to a day on the arena where Aqib Talib punches Skip Bayless in the face.
It's a part of just the general world that we're living in, where it's like it's a whole problem. And I reckon you could go back and say it started with sports, and political journalists then look at how it works in sports and then took it and did that kind of thing as well. But yes, I agree. And I think that Sam Darnold has earned his top 10. Jay, we should probably at some point in the offseason just go rank top 10 by every position in the NFL at some point, and just do our lists and just do a shows of ranking the top 10s, and we'll see where Sam Darnold comes out. And Jay, one of the other things I loved about this Super Bowl was the halftime show. So let's have a quick chat about that. Jay, how does this halftime show with Bad Bunny, how does it rank for you, even though neither of us speak Spanish? Although I did listen to a lot of Bad Bunny in Colombia.
Okay, don't get me wrong. I thought it was great. But when we're ranking them, I'm a Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. Them and Bruno Mars, amazing. Fucking when they brought Snoop and Dre, and that's my childhood, right? Like, that's my childhood. I thought Kendrick was great. But I thought what Bad Bunny did was amazing, because I did not have to understand Spanish to understand the message of what was going on. I thought it was really entertaining. And again, people get mad. Like, you're mad about the Super Bowl halftime show. Would I have picked Bad Bunny? No. But do I understand why they did it? Absolutely. He's one of the world's biggest stars, right? And yeah, I think it's funny that they decided to have an alternative halftime show, which ended up viewer-wise being a joke, and they couldn't air it like they wanted to on X. And you want to act like you're making a stand, yet the guy headlining it has a line in his song that say, some of it call it statutory, but I call it mandatory. Okay, I'm just saying, with the files being out there right now, maybe that's not the best guy to headline. But this is the joke of it all. Like, we get so mad about everything that people can't just accept it's a halftime show. Well, here's a little information for everybody upset. The NFL never used to do a Super Bowl halftime show. Then in Living Color one time, the old TV show decided to do something at halftime of the Super Bowl. It blew up and got huge ratings. The next year, Michael Jackson is doing the first halftime show. This wasn't a thing. So to take it for what it is, man, it's just a show for the fans to have a little extra during halftime. And most people go take a piss during this, get food, and you're angry. That's what I don't get. You're angry. I thought it was good. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I thought the staging of it. Look,
sorry for the rant.
No, it's fine. That was great. Clip it. Look, that was honestly the staging that I thought was amazing. Now, it wasn't made for anybody in that stadium, which I'm fine with, because tickets to the Super Bowl are £5,000. Like, they're and the rest, you know, like the people in the stadium are not the people who like are gonna. That I'm that concerned about, to be honest. Like, the NFL is not made for in-stadium consumption anymore. It's made for TV consumption. The entire NFL. Like, I'm sure going to a stadium and watching the NFL is great and really cool, and I really want to do it. And I've done it in London, and I'm going to do it in some of the other European games, hopefully this year. But it's made for TV, man, and the TV production of it was excellent. The little bits and pieces, you know, the sugarcane fields because of Puerto Rico, the telephone poles coming out the ground, like referencing the power shortages that they're still currently having. The shops that are actually in there are local businesses in Puerto Rico. They're real small people's businesses. That he bought that thing from is somebody's business. The drink that he bought is someone's business in Puerto Rico as well. Like, those little bits and pieces. And then the God bless America, and saying all of the nations apart from a couple, like he didn't mention. So like Belize, I think, missed out, and some of the Caribbean islands missed out. But God bless America. And he said almost every single country going through. I've seen so many funny memes of like Canadians like pretending to be Latino, like after hearing their shout out at the end of it and stuff like that as well. Like I thought it was beautiful. And the most beautiful thing, Jake, and the thing that I can't believe MAGA aren't just going, isn't this amazing? There was a wedding at the Super Bowl. A straight heterosexual wedding happened at the Super Bowl. And it was legit. It was a legit wedding. They actually got married right there and then at the Super Bowl, which is crazy. And the story about that is obviously Bad Bunny got invited to their wedding. And then he just went, well, why don't we get married at the Super Bowl halftime show as well? And also, guys, important to mention that the kid he gives the Grammy to is not the same kid who got arrested by ICE in Minnesota. That was fake news. That's not the same kid. But they were. I thought it was incredible. I thought it was a beautiful show, and I think it ranks amongst my favorite. Like, I really liked Kendrick last year as well. I really liked the Bruno Mars and Beyonce one. I found that quite interesting. Like, the Coldplay one was good. What's quite funny though, Jay, and what a lot of people don't realize, and I'm sure they do realize it now, this was Bad Bunny's second Super Bowl performance. He did it with Shakira. He's already done it.
Yeah, and it's amazing how they weren't streaming "We Need an American" when U2 or Rihanna or let me stop. Okay.
Well, considering he's an American citizen, like
no, I know that's what I'm saying, but I was just going to go into that. But yet, the man who's from Puerto Rico, right? Like, but I don't want to get too political. But
anyway,
we do have the president who once said, "I just got off the phone with the Puerto Rican president."
Yeah, did you see this stuff with Jake Paul? Saying about how
you see the shit that Jake Paul might have to move out of fucking Puerto Rico after that shit, because I saw some shit about that too.
Yeah, so he's currently at the Winter Olympics because his partner is like an unbelievable Dutch speed skater, and she's getting a lot of hate from the Dutch Olympic committees and stuff for being a diva and flying in a private jet with Jake Paul rather than flying with the team and all of that. But that's by the by. He's like, with all the booing and stuff that's happening at the Winter Olympics, he's like beefing with people. But the guy avoids tax. He's like saying, if you don't love your country, you can always live somewhere else. And he lives somewhere else to avoid paying tax. Like,
just so everybody knows, Puerto Rico's got a 4% income tax. That's why everybody with money runs there. Okay.
But anyway, Bad Bunny was fucking amazing. And I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was very good.
Yeah, my wife watched it. She doesn't speak Spanish, and she kind of welled up a little. Now, don't get me wrong. If it's a really soft commercial, my wife will cry too, because that's just what she does when something touches her heart. But yeah, I'm just saying she got welled up. Like, I don't know. Like, it was good.
I welled up at I welled up at it when I rewatched it. Like, I rewatched it like a couple of days ago, and obviously I didn't well up about it in the pub because we were all just chatting and having a good time because no one in the pub understood it either. But maybe we should all just learn more Spanish. That's another way to go. Right. Anyway,
because do we live in a world now where if you're bilingual, it's a bad thing? Like, people who are mad at somebody who's bilingual only speak one language is crazy to me.
No, if you're rich and bilingual, it's classy. If you're poor and bilingual, it's a bad thing. That's the important thing to note there. But yeah, I can order coffee in 3 languages, I reckon. And guys, if you ever want to buy us a coffee, then feel free through the links that come up in this video.
Me and Jay set up the Yankee and the Brit nearly 5 years ago. And in that time, we've gone up to about 7 shows a week. And with the help of our loyal community, we've been able to keep growing. But we want to grow even more. And that's why just giving $5 or £5 could really help us out in our Buy Me a Coffee fund. And all you have to do is hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our YouTube descriptions. That'll be on every single video. You can give £5, $5. You can give it once, you can give it every month. And what that does is it allows us to grow and even buy ourselves a coffee every once in a while.
All right, guys. So, yeah, you can buy us a coffee if you would like to support us. We appreciate it all in the QR code that's on the screen or in the link below the video. And, guys, the best support that you can give is to like and subscribe and comment and all of those kind of things as we go through the show. And make sure you link up to any of our other shows that are on this platform as well. Jay, have you already spoke about the Super Bowl halftime show on the playlist?
Yeah, Payne and I talked about it. My thing is I don't know if it aired yet or not because we air on Friday, but we record the next Saturday, so I always get confused on what aired already.
Yeah, so guys, go check that out on the playlist. I've watched a couple of episodes of the playlist recently, and it's really great. Eurovision's coming up, Jay. We should do a Eurovision playlist reaction.
Yeah, I would love to see Payne's reaction to that because that would be funny as fuck because Payne will lose his shit. And as we're talking about the playlist, quick little self-promotion here. I've been doing these things called Behind the Music where I give you information on the music, behind the song, why it was created. Go check that out. And unlike other people who do give some information, I actually play the song afterwards. So you're not like, all right, motherfucker, I wanted to hear the song now that you told me about it. So go check that out. They've been a lot of fun to make, and they've been slowly getting views. So I appreciate that. But they've been fun to make. So go check those out.
Yeah, cheers, guys, for all of your support. Let's move on to an NFL news roundup for our final segment of the 2025-2026 season. Jay, let's start off with Fernando Mendoza. Is Fernando Mendoza the most clear first-round pick imaginable? The Raiders are surely not even pretending that he's not going to be the first overall pick.
Yeah, I think this year definitely. And even after I went and watched his, I went back and watched more of his film. Even if everybody would have came out, which I was questioning in the middle of the year, like he's definitely the number one guy in this class. I'm more impressed with him though after watching him on Super Bowl week do all those interviews and the kind of guy he is and how he's genuinely just himself. And I mean that kid is so accurate. He's not the greatest athlete, but he's athletic enough. Like, I don't think people give him credit. I'm very impressed with the way he interacts with his teammates. When you see these behind-the-scene things, you can see they really love this guy, and he's a great leader. I think he's perfect for them, and I think the Raiders, oddly, are going to be in a really good spot to rebuild this team with and they don't have a lot of, hey, you got to keep me players, but they do have a few. They have some people to build around, and I think if you have a shot to get a guy who might be your franchise quarterback, you do it.
Yeah, and I think with Fernando Mendoza, the big thing about it is he's fought through adversity to be here. It's the thing that we do get with the transfer portal now more often. We actually do get to see guys in two different settings. So we saw if you go back and watch the tape of him in Cal, he's not doing like, he's having a kind of run for his life and make a lot of plays when he's playing in Cal, and then he goes up to Indiana, and obviously Indiana weren't favorites to win. This is one of the fairy tale stories of college football, and he's the guy that leads them there. And Jay, I think the thing that I'm most impressed with is it is him leading them there. He is the leader in that team, and he's an immediate leader. And if I'm sure Tom Brady is absolutely fawning over him, thinking, yeah, this is 100% the guy. Like, this is everything I like in a quarterback. He's big. His throwing mechanics look solid. Is he the most talented guy coming off? No, but he has those leadership qualities and all those little bits that add into making the perfect quarterback. What I've seen a lot of people saying is if he came out the year before last, so if he came out last year, it would have been him and Cam Ward pretty even, but they're comparing it to the year before last. They're saying he would have probably come out fourth, so just behind Drake Maye in that draft picking process. And I'm thinking they're making that with prior knowledge, actually, because I like him a lot more than I like Drake Maye when Drake Maye was first coming out when I was watching. So I think maybe he goes third in that quarterback class coming out there.
Yeah, I think that go with the Raiders. They've been making the right moves moving forward right now this year. And I guess I'll just speed up your questions in the comments, because I think the right move is also to move on from Max Crosby.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to that. I was gonna first though say is there any way that Mendoza isn't playing for the Raiders next year? Like, what is the draft capital you have to throw at the Raiders, and what team can put together that, and it makes sense to throw it at the Raiders to go get him?
So if I'm the Raiders and you get 3 first-round picks, let's say, right? Because you can only go out 3 years right now in the NFL. They're trying to change that to 5. We'll see if that happens. I think that'll ruin teams if you can go out 5 years, because it's not the NBA. Draft picks matter in the NFL. So I think that'll ruin it, but we'll see what happens. Is giving up that chance at a franchise quarterback worth 2 more first-round picks? Because you say it's 3, but you're really trading that year's first, so you're falling back, right? So is it worth 2 more first-round picks to me? I'd say no. I'd say if you believe he is a franchise guy, that's what you got to – if you don't, move on. But if you believe he's a franchise guy, I say no, because tell me what franchise quarterback right now you can call up and say, I'll give you 3 first-round picks, and the team says, yes, take him. Because Josh Allen ain't going, unless you get forced out, unless the players forcing their way out. You're not trading Lamar. You're not trading Josh Allen. You're not trading fucking any of these young guys either, right? Like, so Trevor Lawrence is not getting traded for 3 first-round picks, and Trevor Lawrence still has questions after how many years? So when it comes to the quarterback, I don't think it's worth the draft capital to go and get the 2 more first-round picks if you think the guy is your franchise guy.
Yeah, I guess realistically you could say, because you can only – what is it? You can only trade picks in 3 years.
3 years out,
3 years. But it's 3 years. It's not 3 picks. So if you're a team like the Jets, for example, you have however many first-round picks it is in the next – they have 2 this year. They have 3 next year. So they have 5 first-round picks in the next 2 years. But for the Jets, it doesn't matter what quarterback you put back there, because you're just that terrible. Like, the Raiders have a semblance of a team there for Mendoza to walk into. They really need offensive linemen to help him out, which, you can pick up really solid guards in the 3rd and 4th round, and Clint Kubiak will be helping them out as well. And look, let's move on to this. But Jay, the Raiders can also get rid of Max Crosby here to move up and get first round picks. Do you think that Max Crosby is going to be playing for the Raiders next year? Who do you think Max Crosby is going to be playing for next year? And what is the trade capital that you have to give up to get a Max Crosby?
Okay, just quick before we go to that. In 2026, before any moves with Crosby, the Raiders have $91.5 million to spend in free agency. Go build around this kid. Get enough. If you keep Max, the reason it doesn't make sense to keep Max Crosby is because even if you rebuild the team, he's too old by time you're anywhere with the rebuild to be part of the enjoyment of the rebuild, right? So go get what you can for draft capital. I think you can get 2 firsts plus something for Max Crosby. I say you go do it and build this team. You have Mendoza, you have Bowers, you have Ashton Genty on that offense. Get some offensive linemen, a receiver, and then you work on everything, the defense and stuff too. I think this is a great rebuilding time to get those extra draft picks for the Raiders. There is teams like the Eagles, the Chiefs. I mean, the Bills. The Bills need defense, right? Like, there are so many teams out there, and I don't know their cap situations right now, but this is the NFL. You can figure out cap room. I actually heard that Jerry's involved in this.
Yeah, I would be really pissed if the Cowboys
Does Jerry win the Micah trade hands down if somehow he uses some of that draft capital to get Max Crosby? Then are we even talking about this? It's Kenny Clark, it's Max Crosby for
Quentin Williams
for Micah Parsons. Now Jerry looks like a fucking genius, right? So
yeah, I was gonna bring up the Cowboys. So if you're Dallas, you've franchise tagged George Pickens, right? Do you, for the good of the team, trade Pickens and first round pick, if that's what it needs to be, to the Raiders to get Max Crosby? Because then Mendoza gets Pickens. Mendoza gets Pickens. You still have CD Lamb. You still have a first round pick in this draft. And you have an all-round defensive end talent. So you get Crosby, Quinton Williams, Kenny Clark, Ezeraku. That's the defensive line. And then you have a first-round pick to go and spend on. I really like Caleb Downs for the Dallas Cowboys, like in the first round of this draft. You go get Caleb Downs, smart leadership guy at safety, but can move into linebacker and can move around and all of that kind of stuff. You then immediately really start the building blocks of a great defense there, whilst also having Dak Prescott, Javonte Williams, good offensive line. CD Lamb is still your number one wide receiver. Realistically, the Cowboys aren't going to pay George Pickens after that franchise tag. So, Jay, do you do that? Does that move make loads of sense?
Yeah, I think you would have to give up Pickens, a first, and then maybe a fourth, a fifth, seventh, something like that, because they're going to want to get some draft picks. Okay, whatever. Yes, I think it absolutely makes sense. And I think if you're Jerry, you do that in a heartbeat, because now your defense becomes one of your real strengths on that team. And, I mean, not George Pickens caliber, but George Pickens can be a head case. You can find receivers in the draft to come in and start across from CD Lamb.
Yeah, I mean, there's another guy that we're going to talk about who's just become available from the Miami Dolphins as well, who immediately comes in, and we'll talk about him in a second as well. But there's guys in the draft, there's guys in free agency. We have so many wide receivers in the league now that George Pickens was incredible all year, and I would love to keep hold of him. But if it's going to be another contract problem for the Cowboys, I'd just rather not have it, and I'd rather have Max Crosby in the building. Other teams that they could go to, Jay, unfortunately, I think the Philadelphia Eagles is a great shout. Weirdly, I think like the New York Giants is a great call for him to go there, depending on how far they feel ahead of their rebuild. You have Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Max Crosby, like that, Brian Burns. Like that feels like a crazy defensive line to assemble. But the two teams that make the most sense are the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, except from if you're the Raiders, you're not trading him to the Chiefs, are you? You don't want to see him twice. You don't want to see him twice a year. But if they give you the most capital, then it is worth it.
But if you're Max Crosby, do you be like, I'm not gonna fucking be happy if you send me to New York? Because then New York's not. If their agent gets a hold of New York and says, don't trade for him, he does not want to play for you, they're not trading for him. And so if you're Max Crosby, do you want to go anywhere that's not a contender? Because I wouldn't.
Yeah, exactly. You want to immediately go to contender or contender adjacent. Like the Cowboys are contender adjacent, right? Look, Max Crosby to the Patriots makes loads of sense. The Patriots still have loads of cap room to mess around with. So to the Patriots, they could have used another bit of defensive end help in the Super Bowl as well. So I agree. I don't think Max Crosby is going to be a Raider next year. But it was interesting to hear him coming out and saying like the right things after previously saying about how I want to leave, I'm not happy. He's now started saying, oh, the Raiders have been good to me. Like I'm going to be a Raider next year. Like there's nowhere else I'd rather be. I'd like the new coach. And he's obviously saying that because the Raiders have got hold of him and said, could you make our draft lives a bit like our earning draft capital lives a bit easier? Because I still think he probably wants to go. Jay, the Miami Dolphins have released Tyreek Hill. Does Tyreek Hill still have a place in the NFL? He's obviously had a lot of injuries in the past couple of years. Didn't really work out for him in Miami. Does he still have a place in the NFL? And where is that place if he does have it?
So I always joke in the chat that everybody who is any good ends up with the Eagles because Matty, it just crushes him inside. I could honestly see, though, them signing him, trading AJ, that kind of thing. But I think most realistically, he goes back to Kansas City with his guy Eric Bieniemy, is back in Kansas City, and they try to put the band back together and see what can happen. And the league's going to fuck around, and let Kansas City draft the number one talent in the draft at pick 9 or whatever the fuck it is. And they're going to end up with running back Love, who is the best player in the NFL draft, except nobody can take a running back in that high or you look kind of crazy. So, yeah, I think they're going to fuck around. The league's going to fuck around and let them get the best running back in the draft to go along with Patrick Mahomes.
And Tyreek Hill on top of that as well. I think the Chiefs is the place where I see him the most. I would be interested to see what Tyreek Hill wants from it. Like, does Tyreek Hill want to go back to Kansas City? Would he like to spend some time in LA with the Chargers, become an immediate option?
I heard the Bears.
Yeah, is it what is Tyreek Hill looking for out of this deal? Is he looking to go get another ring, or is he looking for as much money as he can get, or is he looking for lifestyle trade over and like being in a warm climate and all of that kind of stuff? Like, I'd be interested to see what Tyreek Hill's looking for, because to be honest, if he wants another ring, then I do think the Bears is a good place for him.
Buffalo.
The Bills is a good place for him. The Chiefs is obviously a good place for him, and stuff like that as well. But don't rule out kind of the LA Chargers with the lifestyle that he can have in LA, or don't rule out, say, like the Houston Texans, like coming in and making a big deal for him and stuff like that as well. But we'll see. There's still a place for him in the NFL, right? Like, he's coming off that really hard year where his family home gets broken into. He gets accused of he got accused of a crime that he didn't actually do.
What do you think he asks for?
See, wouldn't it be great for him to just play for the vet minimum?
Well, because I had a little weird theory.
Go on.
Or not a theory, an idea. Theory's the wrong word, but an idea. So if you can get him to come in on the vet minimum, if you're Minnesota, do you not sign him and then trade Jordan Addison for like as much as you can get for him right now? Because they're going to trade him after this year anyway. They're not going to re-sign him and keep him. So do you get in Tyreek for a couple years? That gives you a 2-year Band-Aid to play next to Justin Jefferson to see if the guys they drafted pan out. You put him next to Justin Jefferson, who do you double cover, right? Like, so weird stuff like that, though. You put him next to CeeDee Lamb, who do you double cover? Like, these are the things where what is Tyreek going to ask for in money? I don't know.
Yeah, and look, I would love to see him play on the vet minimum just after and go for the Super Bowl just after those difficult years in Miami. Like, especially this year's been rough, and he's had that really tough injury as well. So I hope he but there's definitely still a place for him. Like, he's still got that step. Like, he got overworked in Miami because of how good he was compared to what they had down in Miami as well. Brandon Chubb has also been that's not his name. Chubb, the defensive end who was at Miami. Anyway, he's just
Bradley Chubb.
Bradley Chubb. There you go. He's just been released as well by the Miami Dolphins. He's in the same conversation with like those teams that needs defensive ends as well, right?
Oh, he's coming to Minnesota, and he's going to be in that rotation with Van Ginkel and Gernard. Let's do it. I don't know. That's wishful thinking. Because do I think he is – if he's realistic with himself, you are no longer one of the top guys in the NFL, right? But you're still good. And you go on the right team, you could be great again. So who does he pick? Does he pick a team that pays him the most? Does he pick a team that fits him the most? Does he chase a ring? Let's see what happens with these guys. But that's another guy like, come to Minnesota, get in the circle of pass rushers because that helps us in the secondary also.
Yeah, he screams Minnesota to me as well. So I think
the Cowboys, I think he'd be great on the Cowboys too. If you don't have to be the starter and you're willing to be in an equal rotation. Yeah. There's teams out. I actually think another spot, I hate to say it, where he'd get more playing time, Green Bay.
Yeah, Green Bay coming in and out for Micah when Micah needs to spell and that kind of stuff.
Put him on the other side on passing downs of Micah.
Yeah. That Philly defensive line just rotating in and out of the Philly defensive line would be
even
absolutely
going
crazy.
back to Denver.
Yeah, actually, with like rotating in and out with Nick Benito and stuff like that as well. But I see Minnesota as well. I think that is the right play. And Jay, with Miami clearing house, do you think they're clearing house with Tua as well? Are we expecting a Tua release and then just eating that cap immediately?
Yeah, I think they're getting rid of Tua, which I like that teams are finally like, we made a fucking mistake. Let's just eat this cap, move on, and build for the future. I like that. I like seeing this in the NFL. Stop hanging on to a quarterback for 8 years if you know it's a bad deal. Let's just move on and cut our losses. I also think they're one of the teams that are going to be big on Malik Willis, and I also think they're going to be big on Kyler Murray. I think Kyler Murray gets released, though, because I don't think anybody is going to give up any draft capital to take on that contract.
To take on the contract, right? Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to wait to see if Kyler Murray gets released as well. And with a new coach there, maybe he prefers Kyler Murray. But
the way it sounds is Kyler don't want to be there, and they don't want him there either.
Yeah, and I mean, like Arizona again comes out with worst organization for players over and over again. So do you want to be the franchise quarterback for the franchise that's the worst organization for players over and over again?
I think they burned their bridge with Kyler when they did the contract and then put out that shit about him playing video games.
Yeah, that was bullshit. We just have Gen Z quarterbacks, man. Like,
even if it's true, right? Even if your quarterback's doing something fucked, and I'm not saying he was, but even if your quarterback is, why would you drag them in public?
Yeah, mental from again, just not a great organization with that. Jay, who's made the best coaching hire of the offseason? Who are you picking as the coaching hire of the offseason? Now all the jobs are pretty much filled.
I've been going through this, and it's literally been like, I think McCarthy is great. People don't. I think he's great. All right. I think Tennessee did the right thing. I'm not sure that Saleh did the right thing.
He hated the Saleh, yeah.
But I don't know. But as I keep thinking through this, and I know everybody's going John Harbaugh to the Giants, which I think is a good move too. I think it's Stefanski to the fucking Falcons. I think the Falcons are so talented, and I don't think people understand how good of a coach Stefanski is. You have to go back when the Browns had this short 3-year window of not being dysfunctional. They had this little 2 to 3 year window with Stefanski where they weren't dysfunctional, and they were really good. They were really good. And I think Stefanski's a great coach. I think there's a lot of talent in Atlanta. And so I think if they get the quarterback situation right, I think that ends up being maybe the best hire of the offseason. I want to say, though, I love Clint Kubiak for the Raiders, too.
Yeah, I think Harbaugh gives the Giants an amazing chance to go from kind of like worst to first as well. So the reason everybody's saying Harbaugh is because like the easiest answer probably is it's Harbaugh.
Let me say this quick. The reason I don't think Harbaugh's the best one is because I think it takes longer when you are not the general of one side of the ball. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think it takes longer because you have to get your coaches. Not only do you have to coach the players, you now have to coach the coaches to coach what you want, right? So I think there's a little bit more. It's not a shot at Harbaugh. I think when you're the CEO type, it takes a little bit longer than a guy who's going to come in and call one side of the ball.
Yeah, and I've been going back through, and I think Jesse Minter to the Ravens is a much better hire than I thought it was originally. I think Jesse Minter is a fresh defensive mind, which I would much rather the Ravens have gone offensive mind and done something a bit different. But at least they've gone fresh defensive mind who knows the young offensive guys to bring in and all of that.
And
kind
he's
of stuff
been there.
Well. And
it helps that he's been there. And he seems like a guy that everybody who's around him loves. Yeah, everybody who's ever been around him seems to love that guy. And there's something to that in the NFL. And that doesn't mean he's a coach pushover. It just means that he shows respect and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah, and I think people respect. But Bobby Slowick has come back into a job. Where's Bobby Slowick gone again? Bobby Slowick has just been hired. Is he the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator?
I just saw that too not too long ago, and I don't remember.
I'm pretty sure he's the Tennessee Titans offensive coordinator, and I love that move. That is brilliant from Robert Saleh if he's brought Bobby Slowick in. But Jay, I do think the correct answer might actually be Clint Kubiak. I think
he is the current offensive coordinator for the Miami Dolphins.
The Miami Dolphins. All right, that could be fun. They could have some. They could have some fun down there in Miami with whatever they end up bringing.
It's crazy too when you look at Bobby Slowick. He is 38 years old. He looks like he's 24 years old. So good for him, right?
Yeah.
So it's got to be weird as a player having a dude scream at you who looks like he's 24.
Yeah, right. He's a PFF analyst as well when he doesn't have his head coaching jobs as well. So he comes from the world that like players hate, like the most as well. So,
but I think if you get a guy who's smart enough to know analytics have a place, but they're not the end all be all because analytics matter too. I think that's when you get the best coach, right? Because you will never see Kyle Shanahan go straight analytics, but you'll never see him shit on analytics either.
Yeah, which we saw him in. I mean, we saw Bobby Slowick in Houston, and CJ Stroud hasn't played better ball than that since. You know, like the Texans' offensive line and the players were pretty similar, and they got immediately worse after Bobby Slowick left as well.
Just a little defense of Bobby Slowick too is okay. So CJ Stroud, we find out that he was difficult to deal with at Ohio State, wouldn't talk to his offensive coordinator, would only talk to the head coach, Ryan Day, and like shit was weird. I get Slowick's a guy that seems to be really aggressive, and some players don't like that. He will motherfuck you all over the field, I guess, you know. Yeah. But as part of that, CJ's hard to deal with too. I don't know. So maybe we see in Miami that it wasn't all Slowick, and maybe CJ's just hard to deal with.
Yeah, so you have what they're building in Miami is good. I quite like most of the coaching hires. It's actually the head coach of the Browns now. That is probably the worst coaching hire, but just because of the fallout.
Todd Monken.
But I like Clint Kubiak. I think your young quarterback with a young head coach who knows how to make offenses work, and then they're in a really good position everywhere else to just create offense as well. If they bring in a defensive coordinator that can kind of head coach the defense as well, then it'll be great too. So give me I really like Clint Kubiak for the Raiders. And then Jay, just to finish off, any offensive season moves that you're kind of looking at that you're excited for in this offseason, players that you think are going to be on the move, players that you think are a must for any organization to kind of take on?
This is very Homer move, but if some of the rumors are right, go get me fucking Joe Burrow. Go get me Joe Burrow. If he is unhappy, go get me Joe Burrow. That is, but I don't know how many trades we're going to see in the offseason, but I know that I'm excited because there's a lot of free agents that might not be superstars, but they're going to put a lot of depth on teams, and it's going to change the landscape of the league. I think, guys, the big names we're looking at, like Tyreek Hill, all that. But I think the fun thing is, for me, the one guy I want to see where he lands the most, Malik Willis.
Yeah, I feel like all the chat out of the Malik Willis camp has been excellent as well. Like, we're not really looking for the person who's going to pay us the most. We're looking for the person that puts us in the position to get the big next contract and all of that kind of stuff. I think I'm really interested to see what happens with Mac Jones in San Francisco, because the 49ers are holding on to him. So you're going to need trade capital to get Mac Jones out of there if you want Mac Jones. But Jay, the guy that want to see, the move that I'm desperate to see happen is Kyler Murray to the Atlanta Falcons. That is the move I want to see, as the move I'm begging to see. Kyler Murray with Kevin Stefanski, Kyle Pitts, Drake London. Look, Kyle Pitts might be a free agent. It looks like they're going to franchise tag him as well. But Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Darryl Mooney, Bijan Robinson, Kyler Murray on one offensive side of the ball with Kevin Stefanski as the head coach. That's something that I am desperate to see.
So one offseason move I would have liked to see happen, but now it's not because Kubiak promoted Rob Leonard as their defensive coordinator. I think they should have called the Browns and said, what do you want for Jim Schwartz?
Yeah.
Because he 100%. Quit, but they still own his rights, right?
Yeah,
so what do you want for Jim Schwartz is what I would have done. But And maybe Max Crosby's like Jim Schwartz. I'm staying.
Yeah. Yeah.
100%. You know, like.
Yeah, 100%. That would be the move to go do. But
I had to look to see if Clint Kubiak had hired somebody yet because I didn't know. Because I was like, ooh, Schwartz to
the Raiders just to really finish off. That would be a really strong.
And Clint Kubiak probably would have been like, the defense is yours.
Yeah, definitely. Jay, if you were playing like GM, which team would you most like to be the GM of? Like, you can't pick obviously one of the good ones. Like, one to rebuild. Which one would you most like?
Well, it'd be the Raiders because you have the first overall pick, like in that scheme. But honestly, the Jets.
Yeah, the Jets would surely be the most fun if you were just playing Jets. You know, like.
Yeah, they have draft picks. They have talent. What can we do? Let's move this around. Honestly, though, I still see – I forgot this. Now that we brought up the Jets, back to your free agent moves in the offseason, I truly, and this isn't me being a homer, thinks Breece Hall ends up being a Minnesota Viking.
Yeah, I think they'll probably get rid of Breece Hall and they might get rid of Garrett Wilson.
He's a free agent. What are they going to do, franchise him?
Yeah. They would have to franchise tag him as well. But they might – like Garrett Wilson might go as well. But, yeah, Breece Hall, what a guy to have on the market, like to be able to go pick up. You know,
and what does Breece Hall even get? Because running backs have been really undervalued. So if you're telling me I can get Breece Hall at 8, 10, 12 million a year, I really got to think about that.
Yeah, I do think like a lot of agents are going to go and say the Super Bowl MVP is a running back.
Say what you want though. If four teams want him, and every team goes, I'm gonna give him 8. 10, 12 million. What are you going to do? That's your market, right? And so then you're choosing between what team you want to go to. I think it's going to be interesting, but you know me, and you're kind of like this too. I get so weirdly obsessed with the off season. It is crazy.
My favorite thing about the NFL is the bits. Like, I love the games and I love watching the NFL. But the thing that makes the NFL so special is the bits outside of the games. Like, no other sport does it the way that the NFL does, where it's such a short amount of play time that it's actually the stuff outside of the game that's the most entertaining. The soap opera of the NFL.
If I have the numbers right, correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. We are 27 days away from free agency. And we are 65 days away from the draft.
Yeah, here we go.
I'm still about a week away from where I really dive in because you and I get done. I kind of decompress. I watch Talking Heads and stuff like that this time of year. But more of the mock drafts. I like to get an idea of the mock drafts.
I like the mock drafts, yeah.
Well, they give me a good idea of who I need to go watch more, you know what I mean, and that kind of stuff. So I really like that. And I really like getting into these college, like watching these college tapes of these guys and then trying to project how they're going to be in the NFL. Like, I think that's fun. I think it's kind of like live Madden on franchise mode.
Yeah, about now is team needs mode for me. So I'm currently going through all the team needs of everybody and deep diving into what they actually need and what to prioritize, and then fitting the players to it when I actually get a chance.
So watch the draft.
Players.
Watch the draft. Every team's needs will say offensive line and defensive line. Every team.
Yeah. Offensive line especially. Tackle. Which this year it's a good year for tackles at the very top of the draft in the first round. Anyway, so few teams hoping to fix that. All right, guys. For all of our off-season stuff, then make sure to hit the bell so you can get notified half an hour before we go live. We do all of our shows live, so you can look at us through there. And Jay, send us out like you always do.
All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, like Maddie said. If you wouldn't mind, hit the QR code or the description below. Buy us a cup of coffee. That'd be cool. But most of all, if you could, just share the content. And like he said, hit the notification. We got 7 shows. You don't want to miss them. We have a great time on all of them. And we appreciate all of your support. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.